As we wait for a cabinet announcement, I'm now joined by a former finance and former Minister of Justice, and Correctional Services, Ronald Lamola, to reflect on his tenure as part of the cabinet in the Justice portfolio. Former Minister, I should say. A very good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for your time. As we wait, are you any wiser than the rest of us as to when your former boss is going to make the announcement?
Yes, good afternoon, Buyo. Yes, I'm aware that there are engagements at an advanced stage amongst the role players in the GNU by the president to form a government that will be in the interest of the people of South Africa, that will focus on the issues. Pressing issues that are in the statement of intent, issues related to the economic growth, unemployment, crime, and the issues that are in the manifestos of the political parties that are of concerns to South Africans.
Of course, I mean, you've been responsible for the Justice and Correctional Services portfolio in the last term, and it's one of those portfolios as part of the criminal justice cluster that hasn't really done as well as South Africans would wish. Yeah,
Vuyo, if you remember, we took over a department that had a qualified audit opinion. By the time I left during the MTSF period, the department had an unqualified audit opinion with the issues of less emphasis. And we also took over a department where the NPA was struggling financially with no enough adequate budget, including the filling of vacant positions, which we have since sorted, although there's still a bit of challenges with the budget, but the situation is far better than when we came in. During this MTSF period, we have significantly improved that situation, and the NPA has also reduced the number of vacancy positions that they had, including the re-establishment of the Special Investigating Unit that now has a number of cases that are in our courts. Hopefully, with time, those matters will be finalized, and South Africans will be able to discuss and determine on the outcomes of those matters. We also took over a Department of Correctional Services that was in bad reputation in the country, particularly after the Busasa issues. And by the time we have left Vuyo, the Department of Correctional Services inmates are now working, producing their own food in agriculture. Also, we have revived and also built a number of bakeries across the country where they also produce their own bread, while there is still outsourcing, but there is also a significant amount of food that inmates are doing on their own. So there is a program of self-sufficiency that we have revived in terms of the Correctional Services Act. So indeed, while there are still challenges, we have registered significant progress.
Well, I mean, speaking of the NPA, I mean, there's some things South Africans are struggling with, really. I mean, the National Director of Public Prosecutions was brought to meet fanfare. Here was this person who was going to really turn the organization around. We know, we are all aware of its problems. But have you been able to put a finger on what it is exactly that has made her basically ineffective in that position?
Yeah, firstly, Vuyo, it is for that reason that the president, through a presidential proclamation, had to re-establish the ID to enable the NPA to have specialized investigative capability and prosecution housed in one area. Because the crimes that now we deal with are different to the crimes we had when we inherited our democracy. So it was very clear that that is the help we needed to do. And in that regard, we also help with what is called Section 38 prosecutions, where they get specialized advocates who are working with NPA capabilities from internally, who have got experience and to handle certain matters. And that has helped for them to be able to take matters into the courts. As you are aware, they've got more than 100 state capture matters in our court system that we are ongoing. That was the result. But there is a number of issues that are also affecting South Africans, in particular organized crime, which also we have enabled them to deal with through this Section 38, helped by internal capability within the NPA. So I do believe that with the resources that we have now been able to channel through this MTSF period, a good foundation has been laid to enable the NPA to deal with these complex matters, including organized crime. As you will be aware, in some of the aspects, including illegal mining, there's been heavy convictions, including the theft in the various power stations, ESCOM, and also Transnet. There's been also convictions of about 15 years for copper and for those the materials that enables the power station and Transnet to function. So this is a clear indication that there is a turnaround that is happening within the NPA and the South African Police Service with regards to issues of organized crime.
Of course, before matters go to the NPA, the South African police have to do their arrests, have to do their investigations. Only last week we heard of one of the IEC commissioners, for example, who has been under investigation for 10 years. And it suggests that all is not well, you know, at the police level.
Yeah, and hence I say that there is that collaboration that is beginning to bear fruits between the NPA and the police, because the type of crimes they are now dealing with needs that type of collaboration. And it is for that reason that, as you are aware, it's not only about the convictions. They have also had freezing orders of valued over 13 billion rands that they have been able to seize the assets in certain circumstances where the amount is already back in the fiscus. An amount of about 3.2 billion rands has already been distributed to the police, to the BMA, to enable them to fight the issues of border control, illegal mining, and to get the state-of-the-art technology to enable these capabilities of the state institutions. So indeed, there is work that is moving towards the building of that capability. And I do think that with this foundation that has been laid, these institutions going forward will be able to show the results to the people of South Africa.
I mean, Mr. Lamola, the question really is whether at cabinet level people have been alive to the problems that affect the criminal justice system in its entirety. It's one thing to have had a minister like Bheki, for example, who is a step ahead of everyone when it comes to showing up, you know, at hotspots or when incidents happen. But the real issue is whether the police actually do have the capacity to investigate crimes, to arrest criminals, and bring evidence before the courts that can actually lead to people being put to jail.
Yeah, hence I'm speaking about the 3.2 billion rands. As I give you an example, it does not come from the baseline budget of either the police or of Home Affairs or of any department. It's because this was processed through cabinet, through what I call the criminal assets recovery funds, because it was clear that there is a shortfall that we need to help the police for with the cars and the capabilities, the technologies that must enable BMA to prevent, but it must also enable the police to investigate and even prevent crime. And you will remember there's also been assets like a farm in Mpumalanga that was seized of about R1 billion related of assets that related to illegal mining. So that is beginning to show that the cabinet was aware, and also cabinet acted to intervene to resolve these teething challenges that of resources that the police, the NPA, and the BMA was facing. Hence, you are beginning to see that intervention in a number of areas. And you will have also seen the capabilities related to prevention of some of the haste, which also came through the capability that has been enhanced and helped the police to deal with the interception and intelligence collection. So indeed, Cabinet was aware and it has acted. It is for that reason that the amount I have referred to, coming from the Criminal Assets Recovery Fund, was put in place to enable these capabilities to respond swiftly and accordingly. And I believe that as we move forward with these capabilities and with this aim, we will be able to further modernize and put capabilities that will help us to prevent crime and also to investigate as and when it arises.
Well, money, of course, I mean, is one thing. What I'm trying to really understand is whether at cabinet level there was thinking or a reflection on what it is that we need to do beyond rents and cents to actually deal with crime in its broader sense. I mean, we do get statistics every quarter. Police come with crime statistics. We had yesterday the head of the Hawks, for example, waxing lyrical. I mean, patting themselves in the back about things that they have done, in trying to win the war against priority crimes, more specifically. But what we don't get a sense of is whether, I mean, 30 years on, there is new thinking about how to deal with crime in this country. Yes, resources has been a problem, but beyond rents and cents, is there a thinking about the direction that we need to take as a country to deal with crime?
Yes, Vuyo, I thought I've responded to that. And it is for that reason that there is a modernization of the criminal justice cluster to enable the state to have capabilities of modern technology. And it is for that reason that I spoke about the resources that we've put that relates to modernization, not only of the systems in the South African Police Service, including to help with the cars that they need, but also issues of drones for the BMA to deal with issues of border management, but also the entire criminal justice cluster, so that we are able to have the data of people as and when they are registered from Home Affairs. It goes through police, police docket, is digitized. It goes to the courts, the criminal justice system, still using the same docket, and up until correctional services, and also the registration of the fingerprints and also the sharing of that information. So there has been a lot of work that has been put in place to modernize the system, because we recognize that for us to fight crime, we must be ahead of the curve in terms of the technology that is being used. And that has been the investment that we have put our heads to, and we have also put the resources to enable that technology. And it is for that reason that I mentioned the amounts. The amounts are just an enabler of the criminal justice system to find the systems of modernization that must then take us to help us with the issues that we are referring to. So that is where we are going to modernize, digitize the platforms, and have the data that will enable the police, the NPA, and the correctional services to handle issues of crime, to share the information, and also to be able to do so in real time, be able to investigate and arrest in real time, and where practically possible, also intercept and prevent crime from happening, which is what you are beginning to see on matters of haste and other matters that there has been prevention instead of waiting for the crime to happen. But once it has happened, we are also working in the system to modernize it to enable an efficient and a speedy and expeditious trials that must enable us to send a message out there that crime does not pay. If you commit crime, you will be arrested, you will be prosecuted, and you will also be found guilty. And the assets that relates to the 13 billion that I was referring to, that has been seized and also been put back into the fiscus, and some of the assets around which are a commission of crime, is also aimed to send that message.
Yes, but what I think is also important, Mr. Lamola, is understanding, which was what I was really trying to get at, is understanding why, for example, we have so many Izingabi, you know, and particularly coming out of the province of KwaZulu-Natal. What I'm trying to understand is why in a place like the Eastern Cape, for example, you have so many youngsters who are killing people very easily for, 1,000 or 2 rands. Whether there's been reflection or an understanding of what exactly is going on there.
Yeah, as you will remember, with regards to the phenomenon of Izinkabi, in particularly in KZN, we had a commission of inquiry headed by Mr. Moirana. And there has also been a discussion with regards to organized crime, which also extend to this phenomenon across the country. And also, not only there, the issues of extortions of small businesses in the townships and all that. So the resources and the modernization and also the investigations that I spoke about is aimed to also break into that cycle of organized crime, because it all falls within the umbrella of organized crime, because these Nkabi are organized by someone to perform a particular task, and the crime of extortion, the construction mafia and all that. So that's why there is that dedicated work by the NPA and the police to crack that type of crime that is happening. And as you are aware, in KZN, there's a number of people that have been arrested, and also in the Eastern Cape, including related to these issues of extortion. There is leaders of gangs that, as we speak, are behind bars. I don't have the names with me now, but if you go to with the report I once provided to Parliament, it does mention the names of the people that are behind bars, a huge number of them in Cape Town, in the Western Cape, gang leaders in the areas of Mamelodi, in Johannesburg. There's a lot of gang leaders that are behind bars as a result of this work.
Say it is not you, but someone else. What advice would you give to whoever may succeed you, or to yourself, if you are returning to the portfolio?
No, is that we need to continue with the trajectory on modernization of the entire criminal justice cluster, from home affairs, police, the justice system, and the correctional services as a whole, which will enable us to have real-time data and enable us to handle investigations, prosecutions, and matters going through expeditiously in our court system, to send a message to the people of South Africa that if you commit crime, you will be arrested and you will be convicted and sentenced.
When is the next NEC meeting?
I don't know yet. It's the SG who will know. I don't know. I also get the invite.
Okay. Ronald Lamola, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. Of course, the former Minister of Justice and Correctional Services. Taking my chances there, really. Well, thought I could. I mean, he's a good sport.